Have you ever asked yourself, what if Cooking Mama was a dating sim? No? Well, someone did. Today I'm 100% completing KuloNiku, a game about running a meatball restaurant from the ground up, which basically means collecting every single ingredient, all the decorations, becoming number one on the leaderboard, discovering the true origin of our identity, defeating a capitalistic pig, or should I say croissant, and most importantly, rizzing up every NPC with the power of meatballs. So let's get right into it. Our story begins with what I can only describe as the human version of Patrick Star walking into a store and getting absolutely destroyed by our player character opening the door. It then smash cuts into our character selection screen, which is pretty funny. And just like in real life, I had no idea who to choose. But I decided to go with the girl character because that's probably who I'm gonna put in the thumbnail. And look, I'm not some soft pod liberal sissy boy or anything.
Them cute little furry soft hand boys.
But I decided to turn off the in-game timer for my playthrough because, well, I've played these games before. It doesn't really change much of the experience for me personally because I will try to stress out over everything anyway and complete the orders in 0.3 seconds. Alright, now that that's out of the way, back to Patrick Star. Her name is Stella and she introduces herself as the owner of Superstars, the hottest restaurant in town. You can't make this shit up, man. And we are apparently the owner of a disparate restaurant named Bakuso, passed down to us from our grandmother, a legendary chef that Stella here really looks up to. She questions our legitimacy, which rude, and challenges us to cook her some soup. And at that point, I was pretty sure she was genuinely just a lewd looking for a free meal. Heading inside, we're greeted by my partner, Casey, our longtime friend from college who runs the restaurant with us. Being the kind and equally gullible person she is, gets excited about having our first customer with our grand debut, which is today apparently. Casey warns us that we don't have a lot of equipment right now, since we're dirt broke. And yeah, we have a single bottle of soy sauce. But we make do and make Stella the best bowl of soup she's ever had. Though she'll never admit that. Instead of being a normal human being and saying, wow, what a great soup. You're awesome and great and soup-like. Instead, she chooses to compare us to our dead grandmother and proceeds to tell me that she would have made a better granddaughter. Nice. A literal star. I can't get over that. Why are you a star? I mean, be a star queen, but also, like, your hair is literally a star. How does that work? After that riveting conversation, she leaves the store and our next customer comes in, a cat girl. Oh boy. We complete her order and learn about our reputation meter, which increases every time we fulfill an order. And as our reputation increases, we'll get even more tips and we'll also need it to progress the story. Our last customer for the day is a middle-aged man who brags to us about how often he does his laundry, which is a valid flex, to be honest. We finish off the day and Casey talks to me about how surprised she was when we approached her asking if she wanted to run the restaurant with me, saying that we have never mentioned any meatball restaurant before, which isn't highly suspect at all. And then I get hit by this epic splash screen of Casey in the moonlight as she reassures me that I can depend on her moving forward. When Casey leaves though, our character goes into a monologue about how excited they are to open the restaurant too, but also reveals that they're keeping a deep, dark secret from Casey. How deep and dark that is? I guess. We turn in for the night, ending off day 1 in our new life as a chef. It's day 2 and we're back behind the counter where we meet Mami, a young and hip influencer and also member of the local restaurant association, which is a thing I guess. She welcomes us back to KuloNiku and like Stella, starts glazing our grandma's busted food but then reveals that she doesn't even actually like going to Stella's restaurant, as Stella likes to rock out while cooking, inciting a riot inside her own restaurant, which is quite the business model if I say so myself. Mami finally orders something and we learn about the flavor system. In this game, every ingredient has a flavor profile. Salty, sour, spicy, or sweet, kind of like the Powerpuff Girl. Customers will order different flavor combinations, which is fine and all, if it wasn't also accompanied by a wall of text that your situationship sends to you at 2 a.m. This game is 90% reading comprehension and 10% actual cooking. We finish her order though and move on to our next customer, the average solo leveling fan and a very angry loaf of bread, marking the end of our shift. As we turn in for the night, Casey tells us that tomorrow is our day off and that we always have Mondays and Thursdays off, which is hilarious because we literally just opened with a total of 6 customers customers. Some business model we have. She then invites us to go on a date, hang out tomorrow at the local cafe. We show up there the next day, finding her sending pictures to her 10 sisters or something, and we talk to her and learn about her and her very close relationship with her family. She's basically the only breadwinner in her family and moved to the big city to provide for them. She doesn't say it, but the burden of being like 20 and having to be responsible for the cast of the Loud House does take quite a toll on her. But she brushes it off, excited to simply have access to the internet, which is low-key kinda sad. She feeds us a piece of cake like she doesn't have enough mommy issues, and we end our time together heading back to the restaurant, where I'm stopped by Mammy, who explains that if I want my restaurant to stand out, I'm gonna need to fight to the death. Win a cooking contest named Meatball Brawl. Next day, we try our hand at the Meatball Brawl, and head down to the broadcasting building, where we're thrown straight into our first brawl. The presenter, Rosso, introduces the judge and also Mammy as our competitor. The brawl is a mini game of sorts where we basically have to make food that judges will like. Well, duh. But we also have to feel a crowd meter by fulfilling the various requests that show up on top of the screen. Syncing up the crowd requests with what the judges likes is how you maximize your points. But if you only fill up the crowd meter partially, your rival will end up getting the extra point instead of you, which has caused my doom several times. So you have to be careful not to throw by handing your rival a free point, which doesn't really matter right now since Mammy is going to score like 4 or something. But later on, it's gonna get real brutal and anything below a perfect score will be cutting it close. Anyway, we absolutely destroy Mammy with a almost perfect 9. She gets fucking 0. Like, what? 0? Really? And you're on the restaurant association. Well, that tells me everything about this place. But she congratulates us anyway and lets us know that we can come back and brawl different opponents during our days off. The next day, we meet our next door neighbor, Ume, the pastel goth shy girl that happens to be the heir to a multi-million-dollar food supplier company. No big deal. She reveals that she was away for a bit as her hardcore family was on a skydiving trip she did not want to be at all. She quietly introduces herself and invites us to come over to her store when we have the time. She also gives us a cutting board, unlocking the topping area for us to use. The cutting mechanic in this game is pretty solid, I guess. You don't actually have to cut things up very much. You just have to. I don't know actually what's the lower threshold of this, but you know, I like to spam it because I think it looks better. I finish her order as well as the rest of the customers for the day as I'm helping Casey with some cleaning and some very chillon dreadhead screaming meatball lyrics. Did I write that right? Meatball lyrics? Okay. Rock straight into me, murdering us. No, actually, we're not dead. We open our eyes to sugar helping us up, and this was though genuinely my genuine reaction. And no, it's not because I'm black and he's black. Okay, how about you Sibao, white man. I'm sorry, I'm sure none of you are white or men, technically. Anyway, he introduces himself as Stella's biggest fan. Actually, the head of Stella's fan club, listening to her quote-unquote music literally every second of the day. Of course, we immediately call Stella a weird piece, an absolute cucko, and rage bait him. But like, she really is a weirdo. And so is he for listening to her, honestly. But being the borderline sociopath that I am, his infatuation with Stella only made me want to befriend him more. Ah, shit, my bad. Yeah, I forgot. This guy's like a Stella super fan, which in a weird reverse psychology way makes me kind of want to be friends with him more. Like, I want this is so toxic. But because he's such a big fan of Stella, I low-key want him to be better friends than me. I better friends with me than he is a fan of Stella. I don't know why. I think it's just I don't know. Like, can you imagine the satisfaction of being above his literal idol? No? Well, maybe you're just not toxic enough for this atmosphere that we're in right now. As an apology, he offers to show us around, even though we already know where the brawl is and tells us about the odd jobs he does around town. Back at Bakuto, Casey shows us the decoration menu, which we of course can't afford anything in as we apparently run a restaurant with no tables or chairs. How are we even open? We head out to Ume's shop where we're able to buy a table set, but instead I increase my pot capacity and unlock tofu. I would talk more about what happens during the cooking, but I'm just cooking. I cut things, I put things in, especially right now there's not a lot of ingredients, there's not a lot of things going on, so yeah. Stella in a stellar fashion tells us to meet up in front of the TV station, but before I can actually go, I decide to buy the new table set at Ume's store and then head down to the station before I forget. Stella challenges us to a brawl, but if we win, she has to dress up as a maid. And yeah, you better get that Amazon maid dress ready, Stella, cause you sure ain't winning this one. I absolutely destroy her measly score of 6 over 10 and take home the trophy. She tries to spout cope like her socks being on wrong, but then throws in the towel and admits that I'm just better. As she should, really. Casey wasn't kidding around though. She had that maid dress ready in 0.3 seconds. Yeah, now that I'm looking at her and thinking about it, she really does look like the female version of Bowser from that one music video. You know what I'm talking about, that one? Yeah, that music video. We meet the next member of Stella's band, a let me read this right now. A kawaii surfer dude dog boy. That's what I wrote down. And honestly, that's pretty accurate. And I also wrote next to it, they really had a target audience with this one. I didn't want it to be proven right. But this entire game feels like it has a target audience, but I just couldn't prove it until I joined the Discord server. If you probably haven't been in this game's Discord server, it has like 100 fans. But if you've been in the Discord server, everyone there is so down bad. It's actually crazy. It's actually insane, bro. Like, oh my god. Next day, Mami shows up with her absolute wall of text, which isn't as bad as it gets, by the way. We meet Mr. Chu, who is apparently an old friend of mine, who does not so legal things because the cliche Chinese con artist, I guess. He asks if we're here on an assignment and tells us that he won't tell anyone that we're here. So like, am I Hannah Montana? Kim Possible maybe? Mr. Chu tells me to set up some goals for myself to better the business, which is okay. Alright, I can do that. And the next goal was to unlock a new recipe. And to unlock a new recipe, I need to play the most difficult hardcore minigame known to man. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like my 2-year-old niece can genuinely play this game with their eyes closed and their ears closed, everything closed actually. Don't even have the screen on. And if you fail this game, you're actually just bad at life. But on the off days where someone isn't trying to yap to me, it's business as usual. You make some soup, sell some soup, get money, and buy more ingredients from Ume. After work though, I talk to Rosso, who's loitering in front of the TV station as usual, waiting for his next unsuspecting victim. He catches me, unfortunately, and tells me about the Meatball Brawl leaderboard and that I'm dead last. And so if I want to be the very best, I gotta crush the competition. But since the competition in question is restaurants named Grassy Balls and Meat Beats, I think I win by default. Our conversation is interrupted by a rounder man that acts as a judge during the brawls. Mr. Kwa, a millionaire and food enthusiast who comes to greet us and asks me what I want to accomplish. And I say, I want to be the very best. I mean, what else is it to say? To which he brutally reminds me that it's okay to quit halfway, essentially saying that I'm a level 0 noob and I should give up. Nothing like a rich white man to tell you about the realities of the world around you. The next day was my day off, which I spent cleaning because I apparently have no life. This quickly changes though as Casey calls me outside because some maniac keeps shouting Falcon at the store. And that maniac turns out to be Dan. But I just call him Danny. Dan feels too serious of a name for a character this goofy. Danny has tracked me down from a mysterious HQ and is asking me to go back with him, to which I say, I know no wanna, and send him on his merry way. He swears that he'll get me back to the HQ, that is, and leaves us alone. Casey, of course, is very confused as to why I'm getting stalked by the Nintendo DS version of Lu Guang from Link Click, but she brushes it off. Anyway, let's go back to Cooking Game. Remember Cooking Game? Yeah, Cooking Game. A good day of hard work and some good money. The orders are getting kind of crazy, but not too crazy yet, you know? I can still read some of what it's saying. After a small moment of peace, sugar, the best boy in the world, apologetically challenges me to a meatball brawl, like he's putting me down or something, because I apparently shattered his perfect image of his perfect idol Stella by beating her ass at the last brawl, and wants to take revenge. But between you and me, what chance do you have, Sugar? And on another note, everyone in this town knows everyone. Like, both Sugar and Stella regularly show up at my place, so they do presumptively know each other personally. And I just don't know how you can idolize someone who you regularly interact with, but whatever. Maybe I'm just not woke. Here I'm talking to Casey at the end of the day. You can sometimes have small chats and go on dates, hangouts with the characters to learn more about them individually. And also gain bond points that unlock certain features like level 2 crafting and more recipes, as is for Casey. We take on Sugar's challenge. This brawl is identical to the last couple ones. Same judge and everything, so there isn't much to say here. Mr. Kwa likes meatballs, so just make a bowl of meatballs and you're pretty much good. Getting the achievement for scoring perfectly at a meatball brawl. Sugar, being the good boy that he is, took the loss like a champ and even offered to show me a new game mechanic. Festivals, one that I will never use. Festivals take place every Friday and add an extra challenge for the chance to make some extra money. A little bit of strange for a little bit of change, you might say. I rarely end up doing festivals because they are on Fridays, and I usually skip Fridays either for brawls or to hang out with various characters, so I basically never end up doing festivals. Next day, we meet Lado, an unremarkable business major who works for the croissant man we met earlier. He doesn't really give us anything, instead dropping the most ridiculous order ever, but after we serve him, he spills the beans on Stella being unmotivated lately because private equity was sucking the joy from her work, and I think anyone could relate to that. But when we came around, she regained some spirit and he just wanted to come by to thank us, as both he and Stella work under Mr. Kwa, something you should note for later on. I increased my bowl capacity and get some extra bowls so that I don't have to wash so much anymore. But because I spent so much, I was too poor to go on a date, hang out with Sugar, a devastating win for capitalism. But I did manage to go out with Casey, where she just went on shopping spree for her 10 billion sisters or something, and her low-key bum parents that put all the responsibility on her. So basically an average older sister in a low-income household. Next day, Sugar shows us around our first and only festival, this one requiring that all the orders I made should be medium spicy. A pretty easy challenge that went alright more or less, given the fact that the only ingredient we've unlocked on our cutting board is chili. And you know, chili is spicy. We hang out with Ume for a while, who tells us about her struggles with her social anxiety and asks us advice on how to be more like a shameless degenerate like we are. Yes, you and me. She then decides that the best solution is to write a script to read instead of actually talk to people, which I can't imagine will actually work out in any way, but I support her anyway because it's her humiliation ritual, not mine. On the next shift, Sugar gifts me a frying pan. A gift is a strong word though, more like forcing a new burden upon me, unlocking the frying table where I can add various fried yummies to my soup. The first one being chicken, and no, it's not because I'm black. Chicken adds saltiness and reduces sourness. At this point, I hadn't unlocked a lot of flavor altering ingredients, only chili that adds spiciness and bok choy that adds sourness. So I decided to buy bean sprouts and chili sauce from Ume's shop. Bean sprouts reduce both sweet and salty, making it essentially the opposite of sweet soy sauce. Danny shows up again, unfortunately, this time spouting about me being an international spy or something, and shockingly enough, he was being dead ass. Everyone was dead ass about this. I was an international spy, and he felt that it was okay to just say that out loud. I don't think he's a very good spy, but desperate times, desperate measures, I guess. He thinks that if he outs my identity, Casey will throw me out onto the streets and he'd be able to get me back to the HQ, that is. But Casey, the sweet, gullible, amazing girl that she is, just wants some reassurance that we'll stay with her, and we ignore this loser bozo once again. He challenges me to a brawl, which I gladly accept, and it skips over to the day of the brawl, where Danny is yapping about me about lost time together, like a desperate ex that thinks harassing everyone around me is going to win me back. We go on with the brawl, and look at this concoction I've made. I don't think even God could forgive me for this, but apparently Mr. Kwa can, man, and everyone knows that orange fat man equals God. Danny admits defeat and it only motivates him to drag me back more, stating that HQ, can't afford to lose such a talented, magnificent, amazing individual such as I. But, of course, we ignore him and go straight back to work. I spent a hot minute deciding what to buy at Ume's shop. Like, do I want Hello Kitty girl or I'm not even gonna make the joke. We go with fish cakes. We buy some fish cakes, which go on my topping table, and it looks really cute with the little squirrels in it. I finally take Sugar on that hangout now that I'm not poor. I low-key wasn't listening to what he was saying when he invited me, but apparently we're actually helping him at his job at the aquarium. He asked if I like fish, and like the Rizzler 9000 that I am, told him that I just like spending time with him, making me feel like our character actually likes Sugar, because these choices get diabolically cheesy, bro. Anyways, yapping about buying Stella's new single or something, which is whatever, I guess. Noka, which I haven't mentioned before, is a walking plant. I'm actually not sure. Part of me thinks that she's a plant, another part of me thinks that she's just a crazy vegan, but she runs a vegan restaurant and believes that plants are superior to all non-plant life, except Satoru Gojo, of course. Anyway, we have some drinks, and the scene ends and I unlock the aquarium hangout spot. Casey and I find a stray cat. They kinda look like my cat, Kachan, yes, like the MHA character. And yes, it's because he's evil and no one's toes are ever safe around him. On my next shift, Stella shows up again. Very bad news for us as they ask us to come to see her after, only to tell me to meet up with her at the park. Like, why do you need me to close up the shop to tell me that? Ugh, whatever. I meet her there and she starts having flashbacks about how my grandma was taking care of her when she was a kid, and then immediately accuses me of being a spy. Like, I must be a pretty shitty spy if everyone and their mom knows about it. But apparently it's my grandmother who told her, revealing that my grandma was also a spy too, and assigned Stella to stop me from closing the restaurant again, which, whatever, I wasn't planning to anyway. Stella then shyly asks us if they can call us by our legally binding name, because apparently you need permission for that. Tsundere, am I right? And the excitement doesn't stop there, folks, because now Ume has something urgent to tell us about the galaxies. Stella's band, made up of Goth Batty, Surfer Dude, and Stella, challenging other restaurants and basically shutting down their businesses. Which, yikes man, wasn't Stella just yapping to us about how we have to have integrity or whatever? I guess it was just do as I say and not as I do or something. I should tell Sugar about this. Ume essentially tells us to watch our back, which is extra terrifying coming from Kuromi from Hello Kitty. But seems like the warning goes on deaf ears as me and Casey go out and do a pop event unlocking level 2 recipes. My reputation has been maxed out for a while now, and so I decided to do a brawl with this nerdy guy and unlock the next level of reputation. This time we have 2 judges and I have access to the companion system, each companion giving a different ability. Casey refills the crowd meter faster, Ume restores an action point, Sugar increases a judge's hard points by 2 when you add something they like, and Danny adds an extra action point at the last round. Oh, and by the way, action points are limited. You get 3 action points per round in the competition brawl thing, okay? And you have to use your 3 action points very wisely. I mean, if you could spam everything everyone likes, then what the hell would be the point? I personally like to use Sugar's, and no, it's not because he's my favorite, it's because his ability activates every turn and goes with my playstyle of spamming sweet soy sauce instead of forming a coherent dish. I could have sworn he had a different ability before, something about giving an extra point at the start of the brawl, but maybe I'm just delusional. After creating our master dish, we take the dub by a margin and get reputation level 5, prompting Noka to challenge us for our next brawl. Like, oh my god, give me a break, I just wanted to make soup. I buy a certificate at Ume's shop, an item that doubles the amount of hard points I get per interaction, which means I have to hear 10 times less about Casey's quadrillion sisters, which is huge, by the way. Anyway, skipping over to the next brawl with Noka, I choose Danny for this one because I need the achievement for it. I go for my classic sweet soy sauce special for this one and take the dub with a perfect score. Seriously, who balanced these competitions, man? The next day, Noka introduces us to yet another mechanic, vegans. No, actually, some customers won't want meat or vegetables in their meals, so the giant order just got even more complicated. So this entire game is just a giant puzzle. They'll say that that they want one thing and then be like, yeah, you know the main part of this entire dish? Yeah, I actually don't want that part. Actually take all of it out. I just want soup, but actually I don't want the soup. Actually just give me air. Literally, what are they talking about? Like, it pissed me off so bad sometimes. Like, they'll literally order like chicken soup and be like, yeah, don't put any meat in there. Like, what do you mean? Anyway, back to the story. Against my better judgment, I decide to go out with Danny today, which is probably a crime in itself. He takes us to an arcade, which I'm pretty sure is blasting copyrighted content in the background. I mean, doesn't that look like that other game that I definitely don't know? Danny tells us about our past missions, suppressing the chocolate mafia. Suppressing the chocolate mafia? He's probably high. Well, most of the time he is. Everything's going fine until he tells me that my parents wants me to get back with him. I mean, HQ. Which, yikes, man. He was obviously lying, but he rushed out before I could beat his ass, so the end of that, I guess. I haven't changed my kitchen much since I'm poor, but, you know, have some cooking game clips since this is cooking game. The next adventure is with Sugar again, who has now dragged us to an art studio doing more odd jobs. We run into Mami, who tells Sugar to slow down for a bit as he's prone to overworking himself. But really, he just wants more money to buy more Stella merch, so I can't find myself to feel sorry for him. While moving around the paint buckets, he trips and dies. No, actually, he trips and lands in a conveniently convenient, adorable pose, I guess. Yeah, I'd be covered head to toe in paint personally, but some of us are just built different. Back at the restaurant, Elio shows up, you know, the guy in Stella's band who I labeled as Puppy or something, I forgot already. He challenges me to a brawl, and oh boy, this shit again. I was kind of enjoying my normal life as a philanderer, but we can't have everything. He also orders a ridiculous amount of things just to sprinkle that little bit of salt in the wound, just to add that extra cherry on the cake. My shift ends and it's time to brawl. The judges for today was Mr. Regular, you know, Mr. Croissant, and a dino guy who's constantly hitting the 6-7. Okay. Anyway, now the rival cook has a partner, just like we do. And Runa's ability is to lock one of the ingredients on every prep table every round. But they fail to realize that I am the worst chef known to man and will genuinely just fill my bowl with sweet soy sauce, salt, and shrimp. When the brawl ends, Elio admits that he's challenging all these restaurants because his agency told him to, for good publicity or something. And more specifically because his boss told him to. Him and Stella didn't agree to do it at first, but their boss was low-key threatening them, so yeah, that's pretty yikes. And Elio just wanted to challenge us so Stella wouldn't have to do it herself. Casey questions why a record label will go out of their way to challenge a restaurant that didn't have more than 2 soup bowls a week from now. But there's nothing much we can do about it right now since we're like level 0 noobs still. But we have ranked up and we unlocked the drink stable and orange juice along with it, because why not add more shit for me to worry about? Now this part of the video has no audio, which I don't really know how that's gonna really affect me editing wise, but whatever. We're back on Danny's route, and he is still on that bullshit about the letter with my parents. And after I call him out for his obvious lie, he has a whole public meltdown, screaming about how much HQ needs me, and honestly it kinda worked on me. Listen. Guys, listen. Actually, I have no defense. I'm sorry. I'm just toxic. I'm gonna say it right now. I'm just toxic, and it works on me. He did apologize for his wrongdoings and asked for a second chance, which, you know, I caved. And look, he wants to be better. What am I supposed to do? Moving on from that fiasco, let's go out with Ume again. We went out to see a horror movie with sharks, but Ume was anything but scared. She was actually rather excited, telling me about all the teeth the sharks had and how quickly they grew back. I smiled and nodded along because I didn't want to experience her in a bad mood. Anyway, this inspired her to make her own promo about sharks. And of course, I was being dragged along for that too. Oh, and I'm sure you've noticed at this point that I've made my restaurant the literal Bikini Bottom. And yeah, it's because Stella is Patrick from SpongeBob. And she should remember that every time she walks into my establishment. But it kind of burnt my eyes to see all these bright colors all the time, so I switched out for a more rustic tone. Yeah, I'm pretty aren't I? A couple days go by in relative peace. More souping, more upgrades, just an overall nice time. And then Sugar decides that he wants to invite me to the park. I mean, that's still pretty normal actually. But he seems a little off today. We go on a couple rides anyway, after which he finally caves and tells me that he has a condition. Apparently, he didn't fall over the other day just to make a conveniently adorable pose, but he was actually sick and losing his hearing from listening to Stella over and over, which is beyond crazy fan behavior. Well, he explains that he listens to Stella to drown out his own darker thoughts about himself, as he views himself as what I could summarize as a useless piece of shit. Which, wow man, that's kinda deep and real of you. But I'm not gonna relate because who would ever want to listen to Stella's voice? I don't even know what Stella sounds like, but why would you ever want to listen to that? Anyway, the doctor said that he shouldn't listen to music for like a while until he gets better, and he's literally losing his mind. Which is why he invited us to come watch fireworks with him, because we're just some side hoe, I guess. Jokes aside though, he tells me about Stella's song saving him from the darkest times of his life, and since he can't focus on the fan club anymore, he hoped that watching the fireworks would make it go away. But since it didn't, he confesses to us about his doesn't want to be alive tendencies, which is like, what the hell bro, I'm playing cooking game, not Doki Doki Literature Club. Like, I don't even want to let him go home at this point. Like, I'm sure we can get a cat bed or something for him. We already have a cat, why not get two, you know? Well, that section wasn't gloomy at all, and the gloom fest isn't about to end, as Stella, against her own will, challenges us to a brawl. She even stopped saying my name again. Not that she ever started, but still, it hurt. We destroy her because the minigame is rigged, and we head back to Bakuso, where she spills the beans on who's behind all this. And it's Mr. Kwa. It's the man who's literally built like a croissant. Yeah. Stella explains that Mr. Kwa tricked her into signing away her restaurant and band, and now she's stuck working for him like his little jockey. I mean, his little lackey. But now she's willing to let us fight against him with her by finding a secret recipe my grandmother had left behind. She bids us farewell as she goes in search for it, which definitely doesn't end up with her disappearance. It ends up with her disappearance. And as happy as I was to never have to see Stella again, Danny offers to use his resources as an international spy to find her, not before dragging me to the beach to reminisce one more time about how much HQ needs me. He has a mental breakdown again, and honestly, I'm not gonna say anything. Okay, but he's so pathetic, guys. Look at him. Look at how pathetic this guy is. Okay, maybe we can get a third cat bed. A third one? Think about it. Anyways, jokes aside again, Danny feels lost and that he's nothing without us, which isn't indicative of anything at all. Like, I feel like you have some anxious attachment to work through there, Danny. Like, feels like you're putting us on a pedestal there, Danny. Have you ever heard of borderline personality disorder, Danny? I'm sure you, yes you random citizen, have definitely heard about it. Oh yeah, Stella. Yeah, Danny is going to look for Stella, but in the meantime, we have to increase our reputation. And right on cue, our next and baddest rival shows her face. Listen guys, listen. Runa knows we're looking for Stella and came to help, revealing that Stella is a genuine baby, needing Runa to help her brush her teeth and eat her vegetables. Yeah, I'm definitely telling Sugar about this one. This brawl goes more or less like every other. This time we're having fish cake and more fish cake because I know Diff Runa and they pulled this dramatic pose telling us to find Stella no matter what. Like, what is Elio even doing, bro? Like, you are not all that. And what better way to look for Stella than going on a beach date with Casey? I mean, I guess it wasn't all a waste of time. Casey tells me the truth about her past as a raging party animal. Yeah, that's the truth. That's her arc. That she was a raging party animal in college and that she feels deep shame about it because she failed and flunked out of school, which is awesome. That's great. Like, what are you ashamed of here? This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I thought you were just going to be some backboneless character, but you know ball, and you should never feel bad for that just because your parents are bum. Like, God, Casey, open your eyes, you poor hyper-independent eldest daughter. Speaking of hyper-independent eldest daughters, if you made it this far, it means that you probably don't hate this and should leave a like, subscribe maybe, perhaps. Anyway, Stella's back, and well, that was fast. She berates us for looking for her because it's not like I'm glad she's okay or anything. God, why? I'm ignoring the part where she says that she was fighting crocodiles in quicksand because that is as truthful as Jeff Bezos turning socialist overnight. She wasn't actually trying to find anything, but hiding from Mr. Kwa so that we can actually find the ingredient for her, and she apparently expected us through telepathic communication with our presumed dead grandmother to just know this. She gives us our grandma's secret cookbook that only the chosen one can open. It had a fingerprint scanner. This might be the funniest joke in the entire game. The book says the best ingredient in the entire world is the friends you made along the way. What did you think it would be? What, did you think this was One Piece? Well, you'd be right. Disclaimer, I have never and will never watch a single episode of One Piece. It has literally 1,000 episodes. Stella, in learning this information, rightfully chucks the book straight into the ocean, but a picture falls out as she's throwing it, showing our grandma with adult Scott Pilgrim. I say adult Scott Pilgrim like Scott Pilgrim isn't already an adult. His name is apparently JD, which isn't foreshadowy at all. We brush it off though, as Stella tells us that she's been kicked out of her own band and restaurant. Like, how do you even do that? How does that even happen? Like, does it even work anymore? Anyway, our next brawl is way more important than this bullshit. It's with Goth Girl Runa, earning me the achievement for maxing out my reputation, making it so every dish from now on will get a permanent full reputation bonus, and more money is always more good. Me and the gang all gather at Bakuso, minus Stella of course, because I don't know, she's busy or something, and we discuss how we're gonna take down Mr. Kwa, but ultimately decide that getting to Lado. Yes, Lado. Do you remember Lado? Do you know Lado? You know, that one guy from that one time, the most unremarkable guy literally ever, is apparently the head of Mr. Kwa's restaurant, and befriending him would give us a better chance to find out exactly what Mr. Kwa was scheming. I buy the icebox and kettle from Ume's shop, unlocking the buy all ingredients achievement. The other ingredients you see around are premium ingredients, which are like their regular counterparts, just more expensive to buy and sell. And look, listen. You must have realized by now that Danny has really grown on me as a character. You know, from his numerous charming, desperate attempts at manipulation and sad, pathetic grovels, he really knows how to crawl his way into my heart, and this time was no different. I invited him along to do some shopping, you know, like a normal person, and my beautiful BPD came decided that creating an extensive timetable of a flash sale will surely win me over. The scene kind of reminded me of Saitama from One Punch Man, min-maxing deals at the supermarket. What is wrong with you? What do you mean if you deserve this? To go to the mall? Oh my god, bro. This guy. He rage baits me sometimes because what do you mean if you deserve this? You're an international spy. What happened in your life to make you feel undeserving of things? I don't. I reassure his sorry ass and tell him that he can do whatever the hell he wants. Because again, he's an international spy. Anyway, main plot time. Lado shows up at Bakuso, seemingly of his own volition, and starts going on about how sus his boss has been lately. Which, yeah, he has. Literally, they generally couldn't sacrifice any of the notable characters to be the bad guy, I guess, and Lado isn't even the bad guy. He's actually a pretty sound, well-rounded person, in my opinion. He challenges us to a brawl, and we all know how that goes. Through his defeat, Lado finally accepts that I'm the alpha male. I'm sorry. That he's on the right side of the fight, revealing Mr. Kwa's grand plan: premium, rarity, iridescent, meaty, original meatball, or primo meatballs for short, or Fent. It's just Fent. I immediately knew that this was definitely some meatball sprinkled with like literal hard drugs, but whatever. And I'd be right about that too. Lado then drops the real bombshell. You remember that picture we saw of our grandma with some Scott Pilgrim wannabe? That is Mr. Kwa. That guy, him, crazy what the years can do to you, man. Turns you from she's just 16 to, I don't know, insert some Donald Trump joke. His original name, you wanna know what his original name was? It was John Doe. Like, dough written as in dough, as in bread dough. Like, what is wrong with this game? Like, John Doe sounds like the, like, name tag, I don't know what to call it, that a TikTok, a thirsty, like those, you know those people? The cooking videos where they touch the bread inappropriately. You know what I mean. Mr. Kwa sneaks up to us yapping about him and laughs maniacally as he declares that money is everything and we are nothing. I hear that enough from meat writers who make $4 an hour trying to explain why having a trillionaire is a good thing, so I damn well don't need to hear it from a goddamn walking croissant. I kinda skipped over this earlier for story flow's sake, but we went to the beach again, but with Sugar. This time, his ears are healing, but he's kind of falling into the depths of depression because he can't listen to Stella's music right now. And that's when we reveal our extra special gift for him that I totally knew about. You and me had recorded a tape from everyone in town cheering him on, which honestly was really sweet. Like, I was here playing checkers, but clearly my character is playing 4D chess. Like, damn, you really went out of your way to do that. That's actually really heartfelt. And after listening to all the voices of everyone wanting him to get better, he cheers up and we're able to enjoy the rest of our day out. I know I've skipped over a couple of the love interests, but like, this script is already a year long. But to summarize, Ume finally stepped out of her shell and her parents totally love her now and her business is booming. And also she's in the exotic pet trade and also we're business partners. And yeah, that's her friendship done. Danny comes back with info on our John Doe. Literally. He was an entrepreneur with a measly $1 million startup fund from his father. No, I'm not kidding. That's genuinely what it says. This game genuinely made a Donald Trump joke. I fear that I've been outwoked. Anyway, Mr. John Doe made some really dangerous chemical called bromelain and used his PR to suppress any bad press and basically made a mafia in plain sight, buying off police and even state media to suit his story. That is until my grandmother raided his factory and shut down the whole thing. Well, that explains his unfounded grudge against us. Oh yeah, we also wrapped up Casey's story. I wouldn't say much significant happened after the whole party animal thing, but we maxed out her friendship, earning us our second max friendship achievement. Maxing Casey's friendship also unlocks the steampunk set, one of my favorite decoration sets, if I could afford it, that is. Next day, Mr. Kwa shows up at our doorstep. Personally, I would have just popped little bro right there, but I guess that would be pretty anticlimactic. He challenges us to a brawl, which I gladly accept. Like, what's this guy gonna do? Drown me in dollar bills? Well, yes, but no, actually. Apparently there was a mix-up, and I've been restricted to only one ingredient per table. Not even like, they're not even there. They're not even there. Could you believe that? Like, how? Why? How did you get away with this? But anyway, he underestimates me as... Actually, he overestimates me because he left the one thing I actually put in my soup, sweet soy sauce. And I spammed that shit. I spammed that shit like no tomorrow. This was my calling. I knew I wasn't crazy when I spammed sweet soy sauce in every other dish I use. This is exactly what it was for. Training for this very moment. I defeat Mr. Kwa with the power of a single bottle of sweet soy sauce. I take the win. Mr. Kwa is defeated. He gets arrested for being a bum. We all become one big polycule. Everything's great and amazing. Yeah, no. He literally spiked his soup with fucking opium balls, bro. Like, what the fuck? The judges changed their mind last second and hand Mr. Kwa the win, you know, because of the drugs. And he then, of course, laughs in our face, proclaiming that he's gonna turn the entire town into a giant meatball factory. And after the loss, we couldn't take it. All we could do was fall to our knees in defeat, on the brink of giving up. Is there really any hope left? Will the capitalist regime of a corrupt orange man prevail once again? No. Stella and Rosso step up with a plan to corner Mr. Kwa like the rat he is. But for that plan to go through, we're gonna need the help of everyone in the cast, because why not? Casey and Ume working on a cure for the opium meatballs, Lado and Danny trying to expose his shady business to get his accounts frozen, Sugar and Mami spreading the word of Mr. Kwa's wrongdoings, and finally me, tasked with the most special, important, crazy task of all, winning a single meatball brawl. Yeah, that's it. That's all I had to do. But together we are the Avengers. This is how we're gonna be pulling up, bruh. But I have other things to do right now. One of which is unlocking the rest of the level 3 recipes. I bought got some more tickets from Ume, and proceeded to play God's most difficult minigame ever, I guess. But after all that, I still had 3 more recipes to unlock. They cost like 12 tickets each, and like damn bruh. So I had no choice but to continue the storyline by winning my next brawl. Except this brawl was actually tough. I lost several times, mostly to bonus points and horrible judge rolls. So I had to do the most horrific thing a gamer can ever go through. I had to lock in. Just kidding, I just alt F4'd and went on a date with Danny instead. Listen. I couldn't take it after that loss, man. My confidence had been crushed. Me and Danny went out and went on an art date or something. I don't know. We made some friendship bracelets, though I have a sneaking suspicion that mine has a tracker in it, but I better not mention that to him. After this event though, we had officially maxed out his friendship, earning us the Partners Forever achievement. I went back to the arena and took on a new challenger. Surely this time it was better, right? Last time was just a fluke, right? Yeah, it was. What do you think? You're doubting me? Me, the great, amazing, talented, spectacular. Anyway, since we completed our goal, the others have done their part too. Basically blackmailing Mr. Quad to have a rematch with me, and respect to their name for that one. We do the rematch, this time with no shenanigans like missing 90% of my ingredients, which kinda made it harder, not gonna lie. But we beat him by 4 points and officially earned the achievement for defeating Mr. Quad, and also the achievement for reaching number 1 on the leaderboard. I didn't know what the achievement name was before when I made the I wanna be the very best joke, but I'm glad that the game had the same idea, you know, it made it feel extra special. After the loss, Mr. Quad basically spilled the beans on live television, getting him booed off the stage. He threatens to sue us all, which I don't know how he's gonna do that since he was on live television. But the moment he says that, he gets a call from his bank telling him that all his assets are frozen and his ass is cooked. He tries to make a run for the door, where Stella and her band quickly catch up to him because, well, he's a fucking croissant, and tackle him and tie him down once and for all, officially marking the end of his bullshit. I mean, tyranny. The scene ends and we end up back at Bakuso, where everyone is celebrating not being terrorized by a loan shark / drug dealer anymore. Stella actually shows up this time, causing Sugar to malfunction on the spot. We kinda just ignore his breakdown though, and gather together and toast a drink to our victory, officially marking the end of the main storyline and giving me the Toast to You achievement for completing the game. Notice how I said the end of the main storyline though? Well, that's because we still have 3 more achievements to get, 2 of which involving your favorite superstar, Stella, with 1 being for unlocking every recipe, which I only need to get more tickets for, and the other 2 secret achievements, 1 for maxing friendship with her, and another for selecting her as my brawl partner. Both of these felt like pretty straightforward achievements. I just had to do 1 more friendship event with her, where she acknowledges that she's a hard ass who can't talk about her feelings, and we finally become best friends forever. And of course, after that, it was pretty straightforward to get the last achievement of having her as my brawl partner. I honestly expected her to have a more broken ability given how hard it is to get her, but she just fills the crowd meter faster and also restores an action point once you do fill the crowd meter. And yeah, that's it. We have 100% KuloNiku. This game was super fun. The story focus was kind of surprising. Not that I hated the story or anything. It really felt like I was back on my Nintendo DS, hiding under my bed sheets from my parents, just playing a game with no other intention than playing a game. I do recommend it for those who want to get hit with that Nintendo nostalgia, or just likes the satisfying cooking mechanics, or of course if you like the goofy eye characters. I hope this game gets more popular, so it gets more updates and maybe even a multiplayer mode, who knows, maybe. Or even better, a mode where you can focus solely on cooking the soup, kind of like those old Papa Pizzeria games. I don't know, I've actually never played them, but like, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, no matter what direction it goes in, it has lots of potential still, and I'm glad I found this little gem. Anyway, enough rambling. Thank you for watching as always. Subscribe if you enjoyed, and remember, you're loved. Bye bye.